Hi there, thanks for joining me. I promised you some boxes in the next video, and this is my series of 24, yes, you heard right, there's 24 projects I'm going to be showing you in this video and briefly explaining to you how I made them. The colour scheme is from the Season of Style Designer Series paper, so it's going to basically be cherry cobbler, old olive, whisper white, probably some early espresso and crumb cake as well. So if you're thinking of what colour this is predominantly going to be, it'll be a red Christmas project. So I've got the large size box, which I've just stamped with En Français and one of the stamp sets that's in the catalogue. A tag on top, which is naughty and nice, and a little charm as well. That's a huge box. I've tied it up with cherry cobbler ribbon, so that's box number 1. Let's have a look at the second box. Here's the next box that I created. It has 2 belly bands on it, which slide off so that you can open the box. And that's been punched out using the oval framelets. I don't actually have this large size oval punch, but you can see using the oval framelets, it works really well too. The bow is made using the bow die that we have, which is brand new, and I'm just loving it. There are so many different ways you can make bows with this. And I've just reversed the paper inside and out from the Season of Style pack. So there's our second box. The next box that I want to show you is the same size box. Again, I've just used that cherry cobbler ribbon around the outside, and I've used the chevron stripe ribbon in cherry cobbler and white tied in a bow for the front. And you can slide this off 2 ways. You slide off the ribbon first, then you slide off the belly band second. This is a new punch. I really like this shape. It's kind of like a circular shape, but with lots of extra details, so you're going to be able to fit a lot of stamps inside that. I think it's a really versatile punch to have. So that's the next box. Another box is really quick, really simple. I've just used some raspberry ripple ribbon on this one and just used one of the window sheet boxes and just put it together. That's great for putting some baked goods, or you could even put a little bit of jewellery inside of that so you could see something sparkly. And there's no stamping at all on this project, just a piece of ribbon tied around your box. So easy, easy, easy. The next project is a bag using just a brown paper bag that I bought from my craft store, and I'm using the burlap ribbon, and I've just put a couple of layered up sentiments on there. And so that's another idea for your Christmas wrapping, and looks really pretty under the tree. The last box that I want to show you in the series here is this little candy cane box, and I've used a couple of little labels here to layer this up and tied it with some of the cherry cobbler ribbon and just popped a couple of candy canes, which I've adhered with some glue dots up here so that they will sit in there neatly and not move around too much. So you can see it sits in there quite nicely. And this technique is very similar to the technique that you use for making a card box. So you can see this one's been created using the envelope punch board. It's the same technique for my little box here. All I've done is created a long shape, and I haven't scored this top piece. You can see that that's not scored. Otherwise, it's just an envelope box like this. And that's how you create a candy cane box. The next card is using Santa's List. This is a beautiful stamp set, and I've teamed it with Gorgeous Grunge. And I'll just bring it in a little bit closer so that you can see the detail on this. I've used some of the Season of Style paper stack, which I've gone through like you wouldn't believe. I've used so much of this. I've popped up a little message here, put it on some crumb cake, and then inside, the first message reads, he's making a list and checking it twice, and inside it reads, hope you're nice. And I've just flagged a couple of pieces and then added the background with the Gorgeous Grunge in crumb cake. So that's the Santa's List Christmas card. Another little Santa card I have is from the Colour Me Christmas range. And this is some ribbon just that I had in my stash. I wanted something that was a little bit see-through, but you could certainly use any of the cherry cobbler Stampin' Up ribbons for this same idea. And I used Sassy Salutations, Merry Christmas, and I've used that in the cherry cobbler ink. I stamped this little Santa on with Stays On ink, and then I just coloured him in with some cherry cobbler and some basic black for his boots. So I'm going to move that in a little closer so you can see him close up. There he is, close up, so you can see the detail of the colouring on that card. It's very simple, basic colouring, and then inside I put the image of the Christmas gift, which is also in the Colour Me Christmas, this time in cherry cobbler with a layer of Whisper White cardstock so you can write inside the card. This next set was made from some paper that a friend gave to me. This is not Stampin' Up paper, but you could certainly use any of the Stampin' Up designs to work the same card. I've used the Stampin' Up cherry cobbler ribbon and this little guy who is from the Ronald McDonald House stamp set, and he's just been stamped in cherry cobbler and cut out with a coordinating framelit. And then inside I've put he's making a list and checking it twice, which comes from the Santa's List stamp set, this one right here. So that went together really fast. It's a good idea to have a card that coordinates with your envelope, and I was really happy with how that turned out. The next one I want to show you is using some gold embossing powder and the gold foil, which I've embossed with the little poinsettia image that's on the embossing folders, and I've just cut one of those poinsettias out in a small circle, and I've layered 2 layers onto very vanilla cardstock for that. Christmas greetings along the top. May you enjoy the beauty, warmth and memories of this special season, and just some very simple stamping in gumball green and elegant eggplant ink. So that was a simple 1-layer card. The next one I want to show you is the Colour Me Christmas that's actually been coloured in. This is the little reindeer image. So I stamped him once on the card. You might be able to see underneath that I've actually stamped his little antlers onto the card. So he's stamped under there and I've popped him up. Fussy cut a second one using Stays On ink. And to colour him, I used, it's only on Whisper White paper, it's not using watercolour paper, so always be very, very gentle with your touch. What I did was this to create my little colouring in with the little reindeer guy. I brought in my crumb cake ink and a blender pen, and I created a little palette by squeezing the top like this, opening up, and you'll see there is now a palette of colour. Then I took my blender pen and very gently applied it to the edges first, working my way in. So if you go at this a little bit too hard, you'll find that the paper starts to peel because it is not watercolour paper and it's not meant for watercolour treatment. But you can actually get a really nice little effect very gently colouring in using this technique, just on plain Whisper White cardstock. Remember, always keep a gentle touch. Remember when you finish to always clean up your blender pens. I just roll them around and pull them towards me so that I don't blunt the tip of it. So that was using some of the washi tape that is in the Christmas catalogue and the Sassy Salutations Merry Christmas in cherry cobbler. I gave him 2 layers on the front so that he could sit up nice and firmly when he's on a shelf, because using Whisper White, it's not quite as heavy as our coloured cardstock, and I always like to do a couple of layers. Inside, I used the same Christmas present and I coloured it directly with markers in cherry cobbler and old olive. And this stamp says, wishing you the warmth and wonder of the season. So that's a really sweet little card. I'm really happy with how that turned out. This is Merry in the gold foil. You can see how beautifully shiny that is. And just inside, I kept it very simple, wishing you a very Merry Christmas in very vanilla instead of the Whisper White. So I'm using very vanilla with the cherry cobbler, and that's a really pretty look as well. The next one I did was using the Colour Me Christmas again. This time I created a little tag using the cherry cobbler ribbon and baked brown sugar as my base. And I just coloured him in using my markers directly onto the Whisper White using a cherry cobbler marker. And then I edged the side of it with a little bit of sponging just to give it a little bit of pop on the edges of it. And that was just a hand cut tag from a piece of paper that I had sitting on my craft table. So now I've created a nice little Christmas tag to pop on someone's present. Another card that I really enjoyed making was using the stars, which technically are not Christmas stamps, but boy, do they look good in cherry cobbler on a white card base. I really like this. Put a couple of framelits and deck the halls. Another simple card that I've seen, and I cased this from somewhere on Pinterest, but I think this card's done the rounds a little bit. I'm not sure who originally developed this card. If you were the originator of this, please let me know and I'll pass that on. But it's a very, very simple theme. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. And brown and white, well, when I say brown, I should say early espresso and whisper white. This is from the paper stack with a little bit of the seam binding ribbon in cherry cobbler. And then inside I've layered it as well so that there's a bit of heaviness on the back so it will stand up nice and firmly. So that's the next one. Keeping with the theme for Colour Me Christmas, these are the cards that we made in our Stamper Stack class. We made 2 of these each for Stamper Stack, and I'll just take them out and show you. I'm really happy with the one colour. I think this is a really smart looking card. I used the oval framelets, Colour Me Christmas. This is cherry cobbler with the sassy salutations. Very simple. They were fast to do because we needed quick cards for Stamper Stack. So we made 2 of each design, which gave us 8 Stamper Stack cards in our class. That was a very fun class. Same again, this time using the Christmas tree from Colour Me Christmas and some old olive ink and using a different design of paper. And then the Santa Claus again. Here he is with the sassy salutations. So there's our Santa. But my absolute favourite was the reindeer, who just looks totally gorgeous with the baked brown sugar on this lovely, simple card. How simple is that? But I really do like it, using the oval framelets, whisper white, and some of the paper stack. So there are the 4 designs that we made in our Stamper Stack class, 2 of each, giving us 8 cards. So if you'd like to join a class in my Sydney studio in Sydney's Inner West, I'll leave the link at the end of this video in the description. The card that we will be doing in our next class in my Sydney studio is an artisan card using the Santa's List stamp set. And here it is here. I've actually used a retired stamp on the top here, but you could use any of the greetings for Christmas and still get the same effect. This has a matching envelope, and the envelope is also decorated on the front to match. And I've put the little reindeer here in the cherry cobbler, but I'll just give you a close-up of this card and show you some of the detail. Cherry cobbler ribbon, we've got 3 pearls at the bottom. The colour scheme is early espresso, whisper white, crumb cake, and cherry cobbler. And inside I've finished it off as well. So you can see this matches the envelope in that it has the little red reindeer image, some cherry cobbler ribbon. It's backed on early espresso, and the other stamp that's been used on this, or 2 more stamps, gorgeous grunge and en française for the script. Now this is a similar style to the little reindeer that I showed you earlier, where it's been popped up. So let's have a look. I've stamped the image twice in black stays on ink, and then I've popped it up using some dimensionals. And I've made a shadow all around here in crumb cake using my crumb cake marker. And I've coloured Santa with a little bit of skin colour. If you have Blush Blossom, that's a great one. It's a retired one now. Or you could use Pink Pirouette and a little bit of crumb cake mixed in together for the skin. Then I've done a little bit more crumb cake on his beard. I've actually added in some early espresso and some cherry cobbler in here, just using a blender pen and that same technique I showed you with the reindeer. This is not using watercolor paper. This is just using plain whisper white paper. And again, you will need a very, very light touch. But this is our artisan card, and I'm very happy with how this turned out. And I think it's a really fun card to have as one of your special cards for the year, where you've actually put lots of layers, lots of thought. This one really is going to go for somebody special in my family. Okay, so that's the next card. I wanted to show you some of the tags that I've been making for Christmas. I found these tags at Officeworks, and I generally get most of my tags from there. You can get 100 in a packet and they're not very expensive at all. I found some very cheap twine from the Hot Dollar Shop, which is really chunky, which is exactly what I wanted for this look. And I've just used that little red reindeer again. And instead of cherry cobbler, I have actually used Cajun Craze, which is a nice brownie colour, which goes with the whole idea of these little tags. And certainly they'll be going up into my store where I sell my Christmas tags and cards, because I know these will sell very, very quickly. Another tag that I made using one of the larger, and we made a whole series of these, one of the larger tags from Officeworks is this one here, where I've just taken a piece of designer series paper, trimmed it and cut it down, stuck on the ends. And then I have basically sponged all around here in baked brown sugar, put a little bit of red and white twine through the end, and made a whole series of those for sale as well. And the very last card I want to show you is a very simple card that we made using some baker's twine. Now this is quite a thick baker's twine that was given to me as a gift, so I've used this, but you could use the Stampin' Up! Baker's twine as well. Merry Christmas to You, which is what part of one of the hostess sets, which is on the very back page of the catalogue. These are very good value stamp sets, and some of the circular images from Mixed Bunch, 3 little diamantes on the end, and then inside, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas on Whisper White. So I hope you enjoyed those 24 projects. I really have been busy. We've been having a lot of fun in our classes in Sydney. So if you'd like to join us, there is a link below, and I look forward to meeting you.